Auckland 1964 here, and another racecourse. This time it's Windsor. Well, it's not quite Windsor yet. I'm actually at Waterloo waiting for connection. I did have a very outside chance of making the 9:58 to Windsor, but I was within 20 minutes from King's Cross. I doubted I'd make it, and I didn't. But there's one at 10:28 as to Windsor Riverside. Normally get on for Eton and Windsor train station, but not today. In the videos I did say I was planning to have a pint before racing at Windsor, one afterwards. Now, firstly, one afterwards is unlikely, as I always thought it was a bit tight time really before the final race and the train to get a pint at what I think it was going to be the tap room in Windsor, but the final race actually now starts 5 minutes later than originally it said, and so I think I may be too tight now. However, I'd forgotten I started about an hour and a half gap between the King's Cross train getting to King's Cross and then having to leave Waterloo to get to Windsor, get this probably a pint and then get to Racecourse. I'm not sure, I didn't really plan anything, and I was wondering if I'd planned to see the National Gallery or perhaps the National Portrait Gallery. When I worked out though that it would take only about 45 minutes to the National Gallery if I have to get the train and get to walk to Waterloo to get the train from there, and I thought, well, there's not much point. I mean, you can buy a free ticket, but I really wouldn't have an opportunity really to do much there. I then realised that basically I might as well just go to Windsor earlier. One reason why I'm doing that now, and actually I could probably have time for a couple of pints in Windsor, one in the tap room, and then one, I think I'll go to both pubs I'm thinking of, and then one in the Swan later on. I think the Swan opens at 12, the tap room opens at 10, so I think I wouldn't want to get to Swan, so that's what I'm doing, that or a tap room and then the Swan. I'd probably have a pint in each. I would just time my timing to walk into Racecourse well enough. So I would like to go along the river as much as I can. It's a very nice journey. I think along with Ripon and Musselburgh is the nicest journey I think to a racecourse. So that's Musselburgh going from Musselburgh station, not Walliford station, and actually Walliford station is nearer actually the Musselburgh racecourse than Musselburgh station is, but I think Musselburgh is a nice walk, and Ripon you can go along the canal, and I've got that, came up in the early, about a week on Monday for an evening meeting, so I take a video at that point of bits of a walk there, and I do the same for Windsor. I think there might be a lockdown protest taking place today. I was on the LNER train and 3 people clearly not wearing, youngish men, not wearing masks, and I thought, well, there's I doubt you're exempt. So I think, and then when I went to a toilet, to be a toilet a few times, each of them, and basically was shoved, it was them, it has to be them, couldn't be anyone else, I shoved some stickers on the toilet, and you're right to, but you're perfectly right to state you don't believe in lockdown and wearing masks. Whether you have a right to not wear masks on a train, I think is debatable. You certainly don't have a right, though, to deface any property with your propaganda. And I have to admit, I tore a few of them down myself, and I'm sorry, you're right. There's debates of what your rights on this situation are in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, you don't have an outright right to protest in this country, I think correctly. I mean, we're always in favour of free speech, but the other bits when your free speech interferes with other people's rights is a problem. But I had so many. I mean, it's ridiculous over the top amount of things they're putting on, and actually was also stopping other people going to the toilet. And I'm sorry, it just seems you don't have a right basically to shove your views on everyone else and actually cause other people inconvenience. It's not an outright right to free speech, just to basically, these are my rights, the rest of you can piss off. But anyway, I don't know, I'm guessing of the protest, I don't know for definite, but certainly we're down here for something. My next meeting after this is next Saturday, an evening meeting at Carlisle. I'll have a pint, one or two pubs are quite nice in Carlisle. Sadly still, I think 301 miles from London pub in the station was closed last plans have been changing at Carlisle rather than just going to it just as a destination. And I think it'll still be closed. There's a couple of other options. I said there used to be, in Carlisle, there used to be state-run pubs. This is not currently the case, but there's a couple of which were basically because of I think munitions maybe. I think it's on First Road Walks due munitions of state-run pubs. There's a few places that have them. I mean, one of them is in Scotland. They did, but obviously we're not state-run now. But that's there. And as I just said, I've got an evening meeting at Ripon a week on Monday. I have to, before it takes long to get back, I have to go back via Leeds. So the easiest way to get to Windsor Racecourse for me from Newcastle is a train from Newcastle to Harrogate. and the bus from Harrogate to Ripon, which ends up, I think, in Leeds. I'm not sure the order of the way it works out. Unfortunately, because of the evening meeting, I can't get back by Harrogate. The train gets back to the last train at Harrogate's about 10:20, and I'd have to leave after the fifth race at Ripon to get the bus to Harrogate and then get the train. And Leeds, the other end of the journey, basically, is a lot longer bus journey to Leeds. I think it's Ripon to Harrogate, then Leeds, actually. I think that's how it works out. And it's about another hour to Leeds, but Leeds last train to Newcastle is about 11:20, so I can actually make the train for the races at Ripon. That's the option there. As I said, I've got only 3 group of grading meetings I've not been to. I did say, you say it was 2, and then suddenly realised that the Valiant Stakes at Ascot is now a group race. I didn't realise that until a couple of days ago. So I'm going to the Hackwood Stakes Group 3, July 17th at Newbury, and then on the following Friday I'm going to Valiant Stakes at Ascot, and that only leaves a Libertine Chase, a new Grade 2 Mares Chase, which on the festival I've not been to. And my third pre-race pint, I'd won at the Tap End Room, and a second at the Swan. And the only time in my many a few hundred racecourse times I've had a third pint before racing, I thought it was a mistake. So this may well be one, but hey, let's take a risk. By the way, bar my one, which was £5, I'm not sure how much the other 2 cost. They're both for craft ales, so I may have to mortgage my house to cover the debt of the pints. Well, I ended up missing the first race, and that's solely due to the complete incompetence of Windsor Racecourse and the dickheads. I'm sorry, I had enough. Who own Arena Racing Company? What's the surprise? Arena Racing Company can't do anything. Basically missed the first race because they couldn't organise how to get people in. And frankly, I'm sorry, language, the effing closed down. But Arena Racing Company, a bunch of bloody cowboys, and I had enough of their complete incompetence. Rather than just talk about the complete incompetence of Arena Racing Company, ARC and Windsor Racecourse, to say that the meeting on this Monday evening had been abandoned because of waterlogging. And I knew we're going to dry out, but it's incredibly, it's now good ground all around, not even legal to soft, so it's completely and utterly dried out at Windsor. Quickly here, get your sign sorted, lads. Apart from this dodgy missigned sign, well, I'm looking for a linking party for the executives of Windsor Racecourse and ARC, but I can't find one, sadly, so I'll have to leave it another day. I will email them, because this is not what happened before first race, is not good enough at all. But about Windsor, the racecourse used to be a dual course, flat and nash hunt, lost the nash hunt in some of the latest 90s, actually only, put up, it's misnamed, last. I wasn't there, I have to admit, I bought it online. Misnamed a race, which was for first race of the last race, supposed last hunt meeting at Windsor. In actual fact, there were 2 other sets of meetings later on, and I have one of them here. Not with me, but I put it up at home when I get back home, a picture of it. And then there's a second one as well. I think I've got a picture probably of that as well I can put up. I think the second day was actually cancelled. If you remember the Ascot, I think I'll have to look it up online. As one Ascot meeting was abandoned, I think, because of flooding, and one because Ascot was being redeveloped. One time, Barracuda we held a long walk hurdle. I think beating Rule Supreme in a tight race. That's we held. Racing back to Windsor. Now there's I look online a few places thinking I think 1967 was the start of Long Walk Hurdle. Long Hurdle used to be a handicap ran at Windsor, and well before I think Windsor lost its last hunt racing, the Long Walk Hurdle moved to Ascot, and now is a major Grade 1 staying hurdle, but it used to be a handicap hurdle. But it's actually not the first running the race, and it's quite a few places to read online. So it says in the Balmoral 67 it isn't, because I know, so another race card I have bought, and most certainly was not there at the time. I think it's 1946, if I remember right. Long Walk handicap hurdle, and it's well predates when people think it actually took place. But yeah, the national racing used to be at Windsor. I didn't see much of it on TV. I remember one race I remember back, I loved it, 95, 96, when Abram Byrne beat One for Winners. I remember that basically I recorded it, so I've seen it a few times since then. And Graham Gould, Gigi, the commentator, saying, horses for courses. As Abram Byrne was a Windsor specialist, and I think there's quite a few of them probably won at Windsor. I thought that I'd probably just leave it with a Twitter and Facebook complaint to Windsor, which I made earlier on. They're saying basically you're a bunch of cowboys, which to that effect. It gets much worse. You're going to make an email complaint as well. The stewarding is just non-existent, and it's not the only time this has happened in the racecourse. The people are sitting in the stands and they're struggling to get to the top. I've got a sort of a grandstand rather than Premier type ticket, there's a club ticket, but I don't have a Windsor today because I think I didn't fancy paying money for it. And the people are sitting on, including the yellow parts, so you're supposed to go up and down the stairs, and it's just no stewarding at all. I remember a few years ago, the race between Leicester, in the racing company, the independent track, and it was a lack of stewarding, and it just came rather annoying. I don't overfish with stewarding, I don't overtop, but you want some. And it's like people standing where they're supposed to be sitting down, and it became difficult to watch a race. I understand yourself because basically it was happening where some idiot, and literally as a monoculars, I tend not to take monoculars anymore with me racing because it's just that I don't know the help really, and I can't be bothered with it. And some arsehole sat behind me, middle-aged bloke, probably older than me, I'm 49, I think, and he was probably in his 50s. Just in the middle of the towards about 3 furlong pole, with his hands in front of my binoculars who were sitting behind me for no reason. I never met the guy before. I don't mind a mate of yours. If you're going racing and a mate of yours does a joke, I'm not that bothered. I didn't know who this guy was. I never met him before, and I didn't tell him what I thought of him. That's ridiculous. But it's coming to Gentleman's Day. I think Warwick, I know, do that as a racecourse have one of these. And it's like Ladies' Days, just like this. The idiot factor I feel these sort of meetings is higher. And there's too many pissed people, too many idiots. I don't mind people going these sort of events where people who might not normally go racing, but it can be. But you need stewarding. You need people basically telling people, no, look, just if the stands stand up, now people, and it's just a struggle. I don't know what. Unfortunately, my phone's not on malfunction, so I'll have to repeat what I just said. I'm thinking of making a complaint by email to Windsor Racecourse. I was just having a rather blunt comment on their Facebook and Twitter page, but it's coming worse this now. And what's happening is that there's people sitting in the stands, there's no stewarding, and it's a Gentleman's Day, and it has a feeling, this sort of thing like Ladies' Day, so from racecourses, the idiot factor is higher. People are maybe a bit drunk, don't normally go racing, and they don't care. But it's becoming difficult if you actually stand to don't get up through to watch a race. I'm saying that Leicester Racecourse a few years ago, there's lack of stewarding, and it got people just standing where they were sitting in the seats, and they had to stand to watch a racing. And they think, if the seats sit down, if the stands stand up, there is stands in Leicester, we'll go there if you want to stand up, make your mind up. But it's just fighting past drunk people just to get them. The Epsom 2015 Derby, 1 or 2 times been to a Derby. I was at a parade ring, and it was drunk people. I don't care if they were saying it was women, but I hear the issue is men and women, to be fair, so just that. I was looking for someone to sit clearly. I'm sitting on a parade ring, and having looked at a parade horse to a Derby, I had to fight my way out, basically, because people sat down in the way drinking, and you just need some. I don't overfish a stewarding, but you need some, and it's becoming worse and worse, frankly. Yeah, when I get back from Windsor, I have to watch the last 16 games I'm missing from the Euros. No, I think the 5 o'clock game's a Welsh game. I don't even know if they're playing, to be honest. I lost track. I know England to playing Germany in a day or two's time. I remember the other game. I only got the Olympics as well, but then a blooming heck, Tour de France, a massive. I mean, always been more Tour de France than I was slightly found out why. I've never really watched the Giro or the Vuelta, but massive Tour de France. So I have to highlights of that as well. Oh, always blooming sport, eh? Well, I was walking to the pre-parade ring for the last race, passed me going the other way by trainer David Simcock, who was looking rather pleased with himself. I don't know, he had never won it even in the last race or the next race, so I don't know what he was doing, but he seemed very happy with himself about something. Then I've looked into the pre-parade ring and think, bloke looks like David Simcock, and yes, of course, being an idiot, I've missed Wedgbury 520, and yes, he does have a win in the final race, which is why he was walking around here. The lad at number 13, a little bit annoyed. I think DJ accidentally, who was coming up after music, to make some noise, and looked across and there was a pleb, I don't know what, and then a couple of young kids on the her mother were making quite a bit of a noise, and he looked a bit annoyed then as well. And to be fair, and actually someone from Racecourse, I don't know if it was from Windsor, came across and said, basically, the two young girls, about 10 or something, said, can you just calm down a bit? And when my mother was with them, said to me, like, we need to, I couldn't hear what she said, and I'm thinking, hang on, you're with them, looking at your phone when they're making noise in the first place. Why don't you tell them to shut up, for God's sake? One thing, I was once, the first time I went to Whippen about 6 years ago, I was a helicopter taking off, and actually put some horses off. And you could tell some of the lads or lasses were a bit annoyed, about the noise. And I think you just got to be in a racecourse. And I remember someone also, middle-aged man about my age, the noises towards the horses. I don't think he meant anything nasty, but you could tell the lass who was with one of the horses, it was getting to put the horse off, and she could tell she looked really annoyed. And just, horses are quite factious animals, so if you're at a racecourse, just try and not do things stupid. Just try and understand the horses can be easily distracted, and I'm not one for saying, kids should be seen and heard, but just keep an eye on what your kids are actually doing. And I, with number 13 for race now ran loose. Was it connected to what happened earlier? I don't know, but no, lad's not there now. He wasn't pissed off before, he will be now. At Windsor Riverside Station, yes, I was right. I never would have had the time for a pint here unless I'd drank at least quick as a quarter of an hour. So, but no, that was out of the question. Nice little diversion. I put it up by the river, as I was saying, by the Thames. It's a nice walk, and it's a nice enough place. And it's a nice. I think it's a nice enough place probably to visit, but not for today. And I need to get back to 8 o'clock Queen's Cross. But it's like mistake. I accidentally got myself a return metro ticket from West Desmond, not realising. I think for a while any other trains are going via Leeds, maybe, I don't know, but suddenly realising that it gets in I wouldn't have time to get to Metro actually. It'd be a 4-hour train journey. I don't quite know what the reason is. Obviously some diversion somewhere. But anyway, as I said, next meeting is Carlo next Saturday, and then 2 days after that, Whippen, both of those are evening meetings. I'll extend in here the part about Windsor's National Hunt racing history. I actually own the race cards from the last 2 of Windsor's Jumps meetings when they originally held National Hunt racing. I put it up here part of page 3 from the race card showing the dates, which were the 23rd of November 1998 and the 3rd of December 1998. I haven't included the front page of either race card as it was the same generic page and didn't include the date in either case. As can be seen, the first race on the December card was called the Farewell Novices Hurdle, and it was run in 2 divisions, as can be seen here. The final race was called the Norwegian Blue Handicap Hurdle. I've looked to see if there's any obvious connection between something called Norwegian Blue and Windsor Racecourse. I can't find one, so it looks like Windsor have literally used a Monty Python reference from a Dead Parrot sketch, basically saying jumps racing is now dead at Windsor. Richard Edmondson wrote in The Independent around the time that jumps racing ended at Windsor that was an irony that the Thompson family, who were then the track's owners, had done party politics who won the 1992 Grand National. They owned since 1975 and still do own now a Cheveley Park stud, and Edmondson wrote in the same article that the Thompsons' interest in National Hunt had dwindled over the years. There's another irony, as Cheveley Park again became National Hunt owners in the 2018-2019 season, and have since owned top quality horses such as Alloa, Envoy Allen, Sir Gerhard, Fernley Hollow and La Plutard. They moved all their horses from Gordon Elliott in the wake of the scandal which engulfed him. Jumps racing returned to Windsor temporarily for some meetings over a 2-year period, covering for Ascot, which was being redeveloped. This is in the 2004-05 and 2005-06 season. At this point, Windsor was owned by Windsor Leisure, whose major shareholder at the time was now recently deceased, Trevor Hemmings. A Guardian article about him from 2004 in December had Nicky Henderson saying that Hemmings was actually keen to bring back jumps racing to Windsor, and Henderson hoped that the temporary meeting at Windsor would convince people to get jumps racing back at Windsor, but sadly, of course, that never happened. The article doesn't mention Hemmings as an owner, as his major horses such as Hedgehunter, Ballabreeze and Many Clouds were in the future. Eventually, Reuben's brothers bought Arena Leisure, merging it with their Northern Racing Company to create Arena Racing Company. The card I put up here was from a December 17, 2004 meeting, despite Windsor's text in the first paragraph saying it's 2005. That was the day of the Kennel Gate and Officers Hurdle run by Marcel. The long hurdle I mentioned earlier in the video was on the next day, and as a Barracuda just held off Crystal Danae and Rule Supreme in a close finish. This other card I have is from the same Friday in 2005, and this time was Noel and Officers Chase was being run that day rather than the Kennel Gate and Officers Hurdle. And I was right in the video when I stated that the second day had been cancelled, and the Long Walk Hurdle that day was indeed cancelled on the Saturday. I said I own an early race card from the Long Walk Hurdle when it was a handicap run at Windsor, and although my card is actually 1947 and not 1946 as I said in the video, and in fact that meeting started at Windsor in 1946. Stated that a few places wrongly think that the Long Walk Hurdle started at Ascot. Quite staggeringly, when I looked into this, everywhere online seems to think it started at Ascot in 1965. In fact, this Twitter post is the only example I can find where it was stated it actually was run at Windsor before it was run at Ascot. And as can be seen here, both Ascot and themselves and Wikipedia make the same false claim. In truth, the Long Walk Handicap Hurdle was run at Windsor till 1964 and then transferred to Ascot the next year, which is when Ascot started to jumps racing using turf from the recently closed Hurst Park course.